I think it's tragic for someone who is a historian. That's what we do is we try to understand the past. And probably the worst crime against history is to remove evidence from the past. And so it's a tragic day, I guess, for people who are trying to do what historians do, and that is by understanding the past, you hope that it'll help you understand the future too. We have a struggle between people who are trying to gain a more accurate view of history and people who are trying to obscure it. I mean, it's interesting that I spent my career studying Black American history, and a lot of the career has been an effort to correct mistakes, not to introduce error. My father, who fought in World War II, was part of the invasion of Germany. Um, and if you read some textbooks and a lot of film accounts of the war, you don't see that. You would kind of assume that this was something that white soldiers did, that black soldiers either weren't there, but they might have been there, but they were definitely in support roles and not visible. And that's the wrong view.
This executive order is part of a much larger constellation, not only of executive orders, but of think tank work and of legislation at the state level to control and change curriculum for students, to understand the narrative of what our past is. It's connected to base renamings. It's connected to the Confederate statues that came down, which also this executive order basically says put them back. So the question is, to me, do we want a state-sponsored, acceptable narrative of American history? Or do we want to accept American history in all of its messiness, but also in all of the things that make it so special? Those two things in my mind are connected. And this executive order really doesn't stand alone.
This is a country of free speech. This is a country of self-expression. What they're trying to do, they're trying to make it one way. They're trying to make it only one way, and that's their way. And we are a diverse country. This country is made up of all races, all cultures, and all diversity, and they're trying to take it away. You can't just have it one way.
It's obviously a violation of the First Amendment for the federal government to declare what museums can exist or not exist based on the message that they're giving. So, but Trump has been violating the First Amendment every way imaginable so far. So, I'm not surprised, but it's appalling.
I would hate to see the quality of our exhibits go down due to an idea that it's unpatriotic to show the actual history of our country.
especially when you go through the South, which displays a lot of its history, that a lot of that history is distorted. And I guess the monument to General Forrest is an example of that. People often don't want the truth out. It is too painful. But on the other hand, they want to glorify things that happened in the past that pleased them. We have to understand the past in order to move on to the future. And if you can't do that honestly, you're not going to have a very good job of making a more democratic future.
Democracy is really hard. It's really difficult. And so when we flatten it, when we remove people from it, and when we don't acknowledge that sometimes the United States and its people did not act in the best way, we are telling ourselves a false story about ourselves. And that, I think, has consequences on the present, and it will have consequences on the future.